For the past 12 years, I have been the engine that powers our household. From the moment I wake up before dawn to the second my head finally hits the pillow at night, I am consumed by the unending demands of keeping a roof over our heads, food on the table, and clothes on everyone's back. Yet, despite every paycheck I deliver, every repair I commission, every sacrifice I make, my wife, Claire, looks at me as though I am a phantom ghost, present in body but absent in contribution. I work as an operations manager at a mid-sized logistics firm. It's not glamorous, but it pays well enough for a 3-bedroom house in the suburbs. I leave home at 6:15 a.m., gulp down a cold cup of coffee, kiss Claire and our 2 children, Lily, 8, and Owen, 5, and then drive 30 minutes through gridlocked traffic. I field 20 emails before I clock in, negotiate with carriers, crunch budgets, and make decisions that ripple through hundreds of employees and clients. By 5 in the evening, I'm back on the road, picking up the kids from soccer and dance, racing to grocery stores, pharmacies, hardware shops, anywhere needed. But when I walk in the front door, shoulder aching from carrying bags of frozen goods and household supplies, Claire stands at the counter, arms crossed over her robe, glaring at the chaos, unfolded laundry piled high on the couch, papers strewn across the coffee table, and dinner still simmering on the stove. The kids scatter, shrieking, and I set everything down, hoping for praise. Instead, I hear it almost every night. "You think money is everything, Jonas. You pay all the bills, but what do you really do for this family?" Those words land like a punch to the gut. Because paying the bills, working 16-hour days, taking on extra projects, picking up freelance shifts on weekends, should mean something. Should mean everything. But in her eyes, my role has shrunk to a single action, handing over a check. It began innocently enough, 3 years ago. Claire lost her job at a marketing agency when they laid off half of their staff. I promised her I would handle the bills until she found new work. She'd had a successful career, and she bounced back initially with freelance contracts and then a better position at an e-commerce startup. But around that time, friction began to creep in. Late nights turned into arguments. She'd berate me, "You're never here. You're never home." And I would fire back, "I left early once. I tried to make time. You don't appreciate anything I do." But that wasn't true. She appreciated some things, rent, utilities, groceries, but she dismissed the rest, mowing the lawn, fixing the leaky faucet, refereeing sibling fights at 3 in the morning, attending PTA meetings, and bringing the kids to every doctor's appointment when she was away on business. I tried talking. I brought it up over dinner, over coffee, during a weekend getaway we desperately needed. "I do so much," I'd say. "I take care of us." She'd sigh, looking away. "You're good at money, Jonas. But good at money isn't good enough." After a while, I stopped trying to argue. I retreated into silent compliance, ticking off tasks like checkboxes on a never-ending list. But the resentment grew. It burned in my chest every time I passed old friends in the community and heard them praise me for being so present. They'd say I was a wonderful father, an involved husband. Yet at home, I felt invisible. One night, I discovered a blog on Claire's tablet titled, "Why Stay-at-Home Husbands Are Useless." She was reading it, nodding along. I stared at her disbelievingly. "Claire," I said softly. "What is this?" "Just something that resonates," she replied, not looking up. "Resonates?" I repeated, my voice rising. "You're calling me useless?" She set the tablet aside and met my gaze. Tears glistened in her eyes but her voice remained cold. "When I'm juggling deadlines and client calls and school pickups, I need a partner. Not a wallet." In that moment, the gulf between us yawned impossibly wide. I wanted to scream. I wanted to crumble. Instead, I walked out of the bedroom, slamming the door behind me, and drove for hours through the empty streets, wondering where I had gone wrong. Weeks passed. Claire continued her new habit of public shaming, sometimes in front of the kids. I could feel Lily's confusion when her mother lectured me about how, you never play with Owen, despite the fact that I'd been the one to coach soccer, build Lego castles, and read bedtime stories every single night. Owen's bright face sometimes fell, and I knew he wondered why Daddy was never good enough. It all came to a head one Friday evening. I arrived home late, exhausted after finalizing a major contract. The kids ran to me, but Claire was waiting by the door, arms crossed. "You're late again," she said. "I closed the deal, Claire. This contract pays for Lily's college tuition and our mortgage for the next 6 months." She rolled her eyes. "So? You hand me money, that doesn't make you a husband." "What does make me a husband?" I demanded, the words burning on my tongue. She hesitated, then whispered. "Love. Attention. Appreciation. Affection." I stared at her, heart hammering. I've been climbing mountains for this family. I thought that was enough. "It's not," she said. "Because none of it reaches us. You keep your distance behind spreadsheets and paychecks. But we need you, Jonas. All of you." Her words hit me harder than any physical blow. I felt the tears threaten, but I refused to let them fall. Instead, I swallowed them and walked away, up the stairs, to our bedroom. I locked the door and collapsed on the bed, staring at the ceiling as my world unraveled. In the darkness, I thought about my father. He was a man of few words. He provided, but he never hugged me. He paid for college but never asked how I felt. I swore I would not become my father. And yet, here I was, doing everything I could not to be like him, but inadvertently falling into the same pattern. Morning came. I woke up with a plan. I would fight. Not with spreadsheets or bank statements, but with my presence. I would rebuild our marriage, one small act at a time. But first, I needed to understand how we got here. I needed to confront Claire's resentment and my own defenses. I found her in the kitchen, making coffee. We hadn't spoken all weekend. "Can we talk?" I asked. She turned, wary. "No, about us." "Really talk?" She nodded slowly. I took a deep breath. "I want to know everything. All the things you wish I did. All the moments you felt let down. I want to understand so I can change." Claire paused, cup in hand. Then she began to speak, hesitantly at first, then in a rush. She told me about the date nights I cancelled, the illnesses I didn't notice, the quiet nights she spent alone on the couch because I was busy. She spoke of empty hugs, missed bedtime stories, and unasked questions about her day. As she spoke, I felt the weight of her disappointment settle in my chest. It was heavy and sharp and unmistakable. When she finished, I nodded. "Thank you. I hear you. And I'm sorry." She looked at me, tears in her eyes, and for the first time in months, she didn't look distant. She looked hopeful. That afternoon, I left work early. Not because of an emergency, but because I wanted to surprise them. I picked up Lily and Owen from school. Claire was still stuck in a meeting. When we got home, I greeted the kids with a homemade scavenger hunt, clues leading to little notes I'd hidden around the house. "I love you, you matter to me, I'm here for you." Their laughter echoed, filling rooms that had gone silent. Later, Claire walked in, her face softening when she saw the scene. She watched as I tumbled around on the floor with the kids, tickling and teasing. I caught her gaze and held my hand out to her. "Will you join us?" I asked. She hesitated for a beat, then climbed into the circle. We laughed together, and in that moment, I felt something shift, a fragile bridge starting to form between us. As the sun set, I took Claire's hand and led her to the porch swing. The kids were asleep. I placed a gentle arm around her. "I'm not perfect," I said. "But I want to be the husband you deserve." And the father our kids need. She leaned into me. I see you now, Jonas. I really do. We sat in silence, listening to the crickets and the faint hum of the neighborhood settling in for the night. I knew the road ahead would be long. There would be more setbacks, more late nights, maybe even more tears. But for the first time in a long time, I felt we were traveling it together. And paying the bills was just the beginning. Mornings became my battleground. I set the alarm 15 minutes earlier than usual, determined to carve out precious moments before work. I tiptoed into Lily's room with a stack of sticky notes, placing one on her forehead, "Daddy loves you." She groaned, peeled it off, and smiled sleepily. Next, I slipped into Owen's room and perched at the edge of his bed, sharing a quiet joke that made him giggle before brushing his hair back and planting a kiss on his cheek. For a fleeting moment, the fog of Claire's criticism lifted. But reality waited downstairs. Claire was often already at the table, phone in hand, scanning emails while sipping herbal tea. She'd glance up as I entered, her borrowed warmth barely masking skepticism. "Coffee's on the counter," she murmured without enthusiasm. I poured 2 cups, carrying one to her side. Gently, I set it down and placed my hand over hers. "Good morning," I said. Claire looked at me, expression unreadable. "Thank you," she replied, voice soft. We sat together in silence, the kind that had begun to feel comfortable rather than accusatory. I treasured those rare seconds of stillness, before the chaos of the day consumed us. Work remained relentless. Budgets needed balancing, shipments needed rerouting, and colleagues needed guidance. Yet my mind kept drifting back to home, the spiral of folding laundry that never ended, the half-eaten dinners left on plates, the unanswered text from Claire asking me to pick up milk. I juggled my phone on vibrate and chewed on stress, my heart pounding whenever I saw her name flash across the screen. One afternoon, I slipped out during lunch and drove to the florist. I picked wildflowers in deep purples and bright yellows, Claire's favorites, and wrote a note, for showing me how to love beyond numbers. I arranged them neatly and rushed home 15 minutes early. I found Claire in the backyard, her laptop open, lines of text reflected on her glasses. She looked up as I approached. "Hey," I said, handing her the bouquet. She took them, surprised. The petals brushed her palms. "They're beautiful," she whispered. "Just a little reminder," I replied. Claire inhaled deeply, eyes closed, and for a moment, she let the fragrance fill the air between us. That night, I took Claire aside after the kids were asleep. "I'm trying," I said, voice low. "I know I'm not perfect, but I'm here. Every day. I want to prove it." Her gaze softened as tears welled. "I see you, Jonas. But seeing doesn't always feel like enough." I nodded. "Then tell me what will make you feel enough." She hesitated, choosing her words. "Join me in the kitchen," she said. We spent the next hour cooking dinner together, peeling carrots side by side, tasting sauces from the same spoon, and chatting about nothing in particular. When we sat down to eat, I realized it was the first meal I'd genuinely shared with her in months, not merely prepared and delivered. Encouraged by this unity, I planned a family weekend getaway to the lake. I cleared my calendar, booked a small cabin, and told Lily and Owen to pack their fishing rods. I expected smiles and cheers. Instead, Claire's reaction was subdued. "Are the kids really free this weekend?" she asked, brow furrowed. "They'll still have their dance recital next month," I replied. "They need a break too." Claire forced a small smile. But when the day came, she was present, laughing as Owen dropped a fishing line into the water, and Owen dismissed his prize catch as too big. Lily chased dragonflies while I held Claire's hand, watching the sunset. That weekend felt like a dream. We cooked marshmallows over a fire, told silly campfire stories, and waded in the cold lake water. For the first time in years, I saw the real Claire emerge, the woman I fell in love with. Adventurous, playful, compassionate. But when we returned home, the shadows crept back. Claire fell into old routines, checking work emails at the breakfast table, her smile never quite reaching her eyes. I realized that healing wasn't a weekend trip, it was 1,000 tiny decisions made day after day. Determined, I proposed a new ritual: Sunday afternoon family hour. Phones off. Screens down. Just us. Games, talks, walks in the park. Claire agreed reluctantly at first but soon began to look forward to it. Lily would record our family vows, promises to listen, to share, to play. Owen would pick the music. Even Claire's shoulders relaxed as she drew on a coloring sheet at the kitchen island, quietly laughing when I pretended to color outside the lines. One Sunday, she paused mid-coloring and looked at me. "Jonas," she said softly, "I want you to know that I don't take this for granted." My heart swelled. I brushed a stray curl from her face. "With you," she continued, "I'm learning to live beyond deadlines and profit margins. I'm rediscovering joy." I swallowed the lump in my throat. "And I'm learning that money doesn't buy happiness, presence does." Claire nodded, tears in her eyes. We sat there, two imperfect people building a fragile promise, that love, like trust, must be tended every day. I couldn't ignore the question that still lurked between us: could I ever be her partner, not just her provider? Could we transform our marriage into something more than transactions and obligations? I didn't know. But for the first time, I believed we might find out together. Morning light filtered through the half-closed blinds when I heard Claire's voice call from the kitchen. It was softer than usual, laced with exhaustion and something I guessed might be apprehension. "Jonas, can you come here for a minute?" I set aside my phone and stepped into the room. She stood at the counter with 2 mugs of coffee, steam curling into the air like fragile promises. Behind her, the children's backpacks lay untouched on the floor, as if they, too, sensed the gravity of what was coming. "What's wrong?" I asked, heart tightening. Claire turned, her eyes fixed on mine. For weeks, we had been practicing better communication, listening, sharing, validating. Yet now, the old tension flared again. "I found an email," she said, voice low. She tapped her tablet screen and swiped to a message dated 2 days earlier. It was from my office, a client complaint about a missed deadline. My stomach lurched. The week had been brutal: a major software rollout, last-minute staffing changes, and a supply chain snafu that threatened our entire summer schedule. I had promised I'd handle it. "I'm sorry," I whispered. Claire's shoulders slumped, and she looked away. "You said you'd get back to them immediately." But I waited, and waited. Then I had to reschedule dinner, and her voice broke and she covered her mouth. I crossed the room and pulled her into my arms. She stiffened, then allowed me to hold her. I could feel her trembling. I took a deep breath. "I messed up," I admitted. "I let work bleed into everything. But I promise I'll make it right." She pulled back. "It's not the first time. Jonas, when you disappear into your job, I'm left handling everything at home alone. Even when you're here, you're gone." The weight of her words fell like stones in my chest. I had thought our struggle was about my absence of presence in everyday joy. But this was deeper. It was about trust that I would catch her when she fell from the endless tightrope of responsibilities. That evening, we tried again: family dinner without phones. I cooked Claire's favorite pasta, hoping to show her I remembered the small details. Lily and Owen chattered about their day. Claire smiled, but her eyes searched mine, waiting for another misstep. Halfway through dinner, Lily blurted out, "Dad, why do you check your phone so much during supper?" I froze. My phone lay face down on the table, but I had grabbed it twice to glance at a message. Claire set her fork down. "Because he thinks work is more important than us." Owen looked at me with wide, uncertain eyes. I swallowed. I'm sorry. The kids went to their rooms early that night, leaving Claire and me alone at the table. The pasta sat cold and forgotten. I don't want them to think you don't care, Claire said, tears glistening. I do care, I pleaded. More than anything. She stood up and began clearing plates, her movements methodical. The silence screamed louder than any argument. That night, I slept on the couch. I wanted to stay near Claire, but I also needed space to think, about my choices, my failures, and what it would take to rebuild authentic presence. At dawn, I woke with an idea. I grabbed paper and pen and drafted a weekly schedule, blocks of time reserved exclusively for the family, no calls, no emails, no notifications. Saturdays, breakfast at the diner, followed by board games. Sundays, family hikes. Weeknights, dinner together, followed by bedtime stories. I printed it out and slipped it into Claire's planner before she woke. I rehearsed my words, wanting to show her this was more than another fleeting promise. Later that morning, as she prepared the kids for school, I approached her with the schedule. I know I let you down, I said, voice steady. But I'm committing to change. This is a plan to keep us first. Claire took the paper, scanning each entry. Her expression remained guarded. Plans are easy, she said. Living up to them is the hard part. I know, I replied. But I want to try. With your help. She folded the schedule and tucked it into her planner. We'll see. That night, I executed the first block, family dinner, screen-free. I lit candles, put on soft music, and served a simple meal. We passed plates, laughed, and talked about nothing and everything. Claire's eyes softened, and for the first time in days, I saw genuine warmth. After dinner, instead of retreating to the office, I led the kids in a board game. Claire joined, her laughter ringing clear and unguarded. As I watched her smile, I realized this: presence isn't a one-time act. It's a habit, crafted day by day, moment by moment. And if I could sustain these habits, maybe trust would follow. Later, as I lay in bed beside Claire, she reached out and squeezed my hand. Thank you, she whispered. I brushed my thumb across her knuckles. Thank you for giving me a chance. We fell asleep like that, fingertips touching, a small connection, but one that felt like the beginning of something new. The following week tested every promise I had made. Monday morning, I arrived at the office and was greeted by an alarmed message on my desk: a critical shipment had gone missing in transit, and a major client threatened legal action. My inbox flooded with urgent emails. My phone buzzed non-stop. For a moment, I felt the old pull, the irresistible tug of deadlines and crisis management. Then I remembered Claire's words: presence is a habit. I looked at the family schedule I had carefully crafted and pinned to my office bulletin board. Tonight was our designated Sunday family hour, preceded by Saturday breakfast and weeknight dinner rituals. If I abandoned those now, I'd lose more than a shipment, I'd lose the fragile trust we were rebuilding. I took a deep breath and called my assistant. Reschedule the afternoon conference call. Delegate the shipment issue to Perez and his team. I'll be available tomorrow morning. There was a stunned silence on the other end. Sir, are you sure? They need guidance. I squared my shoulders. I trust them. I'll review the report first thing in the morning. Relief and skepticism warred in her tone. Understood. For the rest of the day, I resisted the temptation to peek at emails during lunch or scroll through updates on my phone. Instead, I printed out coloring pages, 2 sets of crayons, and snuck out early. Down the driveway, I saw Lily practicing soccer drills with Claire, who cheered her on with radiant pride. Owen chased their golden retriever, Buddy, across the lawn. When they saw me, their eyes lit up, a reward no paycheck could match. Dad, they cried in unison. I knelt in the grass and joined their game, feeling the weight of responsibility lift with every laugh and running step. Claire paused to watch, and our eyes met. She smiled, a genuine curve that reached her eyes. In that moment, the client complaint shrank to insignificance. Saturday morning, we sat at Miller's Diner. 2 pancakes for Lily, oatmeal for Claire, and bacon and eggs for Owen and me. We held hands across the table. We talked about nothing and everything, Lily's upcoming science fair and Owen's fascination with dinosaurs. I suggested a quick trip to the museum next weekend. Claire agreed, tucking her hair behind her ear, casual and carefree like the old days. Saturday afternoon turned into Sunday evening. We lit candles in the living room and settled on the floor for our family hour. The kids chose charades, and we played until our sides ached. At one point, Claire acted out pizza delivery guy, and I guessed wrong 3 times before pizza lit up on her face. She laughed until tears streamed down her cheeks, and I swept her into a hug. When we finally paused, Lily turned to me. "This is the best," she declared. Owen nodded vigorously, cereal mustache and all. "Don't ever stop, Dad." Claire rested her head on my shoulder. "Thank you." Monday arrived, and at work, I found the shipment issue under control. Perez had handled it expertly. My boss praised the team's performance, and specifically my decision to empower them. The legal threat vanished. The crisis was averted. That evening, I returned home to a quiet house. Claire and the kids were at a PTA meeting. I prepared spaghetti and meatballs, Lily's favorite. Halfway through cooking, Claire burst in, breathless. "They postponed the meeting," she said. "They want to hear more about the science fair contingency plan. I need to pull my presentation." Without hesitation, I handed her my phone. "Take my place at dinner," I said. "I'll get the kids ready and start on the next step for your presentation." She looked at me, astonished. "You do that?" I shrugged, a smile tugging at my lips. "We're a team, remember?" We shifted roles seamlessly. I reviewed slides and proposed talking points while Claire hustled Owen into pajamas. We traded feedback and laughter, as we once did in our early dating days. Afterwards, I tucked the kids in and kissed Claire goodnight. She hugged me tight, her head against my chest. "I saw you today," she whispered. "In the grass with them, cooking dinner, helping with my work. That's more than money or plans. That's love." My heart soared. "I'll keep showing up," I whispered back. "Every day, in every way." She pulled back slightly, searching my eyes. "Promise?" I smiled, bright and unwavering. "Promise." As I lay in bed that night, I reflected on the week's events. The missing shipment no longer felt like a test of logistics but a turning point in our marriage. I had chosen presence over panic. I had reclaimed my moments. Tomorrow, Claire had an early business trip. I would wake up with the kids, help them get ready, and make sure her favorite coffee was waiting. Because money alone could no longer define my worth. Appearances, in boardrooms or dinner tables, would no longer dictate my priorities. I would be present, fully and unreservedly. And I knew, deep in my bones, that this was the foundation upon which our future would stand. Monday morning arrived with the familiar rush of alarms and breakfast chatter. The children, Lily with her hair in 2 braids, Owen clutching his favorite toy dinosaur, bustled around the kitchen. I poured coffee for Claire and myself, and placed a warm croissant on her plate before slipping a handwritten note beside it, "Thank you for believing in me." She smiled as she read it, her eyes soft with appreciation. This small gesture set the tone for our day, not grand declarations, but a steady current of care. At the office, I settled into my workspace. The crisis from last week had stabilized, thanks to the team's efforts and my decision to delegate more effectively. I greeted colleagues with genuine warmth, paused to ask about their weekends, and, crucially, stepped away at noon for a quick call home, just to hear Lily practice her spelling words and to remind Claire that lunch was on me today. When 5 o'clock rolled around, I left my phone on silent in my desk drawer. No urgent texts. No flashing notifications. Instead, I drove straight to the kids' after-school program and scooped them into my arms with the same excitement I felt when they were toddlers. Claire greeted us at home, fresh from a photo shoot. She dropped her camera bag, hugged me tight, and handed me a stack of freshly printed family pictures, snapshots from our recent weekend getaway and our board game nights. That evening, I prepared a simple dinner of grilled chicken, roasted vegetables, and rice, Claire's request. We cooked together, I chopped vegetables while she stirred sauce. Lily set the table, and Owen poured juice. We ate at the table, no screens, just conversation. Lily spoke about her science project, and Owen regaled us with tales of his imaginary dinosaur adventures. Claire listened, completely present. After dinner, we gathered on the couch for what had become our cherished Sunday family hour, but tonight it fell on a Tuesday. Claire surprised us with story time. She read from a book of fairy tales, using different voices for each character. The children laughed, and I filled in sound effects. When the story ended, Lily hugged Claire, and Owen crawled onto my lap. In that moment, I felt the fullness of being more than a provider. I was part of the fabric of their joy. Later, I tucked the kids into bed. Lily whispered, "Dad, thanks for coming to my recital next week," and Owen mumbled in his sleep, "You're the best dinosaur, Dad." I kissed their foreheads and tiptoed out, my heart brimming. Claire waited for me in the hallway. She took my hand and led me to our favorite spot, the porch swing. We settled there, wrapped in a light blanket, listening to the night symphony of crickets and distant traffic. "I want you to know," Claire began, her voice steady, "that I see you. I see the work you put in, at home and at the office. I feel it every day." I turned to her, eyes glistening. "I'm not perfect," I said. "I will still slip up, still face challenges balancing everything. But I promise I will keep trying, as long as you'll have me." She smiled, leaning against me. "I promise, too. It's the work of a lifetime. And I wouldn't want to do it with anyone else." We sat in silence a while, hearts beating in unison. The unfinished tasks, laundry, emails, errands, seemed insignificant against the backdrop of our renewed partnership. In the following months, our routine solidified. Friday nights became date nights at home, cooking a meal together after the kids slept and watching an old movie. Saturday mornings were dedicated to projects. Sometimes building a bookshelf, sometimes planting flowers in the garden. Sundays remained scattered with board games, nature walks, and occasional family service at the local shelter. On their 8th anniversary, Claire surprised me with a gathering of close friends and family. She raised a glass and spoke words that I would carry in my heart forever, to Jonas, who taught me that love is shown in actions both grand and small. "Thank you for never giving up on us." Tears pricked my eyes as I raised my glass to her. And to Claire, who reminded me that family is worth more than any balance sheet, and that presence is the greatest gift we can give. We toasted, surrounded by laughter and applause. In that moment, I realized that paying the bills had been merely the first chapter in our story. The true measure of a husband and father lies in the everyday moments we choose to share, the habits we forge, and the love we cultivate. Years from now, I hope I will still hear Lily's excited calls, still feel Owen's sleepy arms around my neck, and still see Claire's smile when I step through the door. Because the work of a lifetime isn't about never falling short, it's about choosing, again and again, to stand back up and recommit. And as long as we keep choosing each other, our home will never be empty.